Welcome to Todo con Tiempo's first video. I'm so excited. I think this is a long time coming. Technically, this isn't my first YouTube video. I do have one posted. It's a silent mini vlog of a date I went with my boyfriend. But that was just a way to get my feet wet. But it's time for the real fucking deal. My name is Dayanara and I created the Todo con Tiempo YouTube channel as a form of holding myself accountable to do all the things I say I want to do. I know there's other people out there that are always talking about the things that they want to do, but somehow they're not doing it, and I'm that person. And so part of this channel is to film content of me doing the things I say I want to do, but with all of that is taking things slowly, doing things with ease, and most importantly is being intentional, taking intentional bite-sized action day to day in the direction that we want to go in life. So welcome. So with all that being said, in 2024, something that I really want to be doing more of is reading more books. And not for the sense of having a number, but because I want to replace the time that I'm mindlessly scrolling on TikTok, on Instagram. Now I'm mindlessly scrolling on Pinterest. And I just want to replace the time that I'm mindlessly scrolling with reading a really great book, you know, for its story, for its lesson, for the knowledge. So I'm really excited to be reading more intentionally this year. For this video though, I want to get into the books that I did get to read in 2023, which it was only 3 books, but a win is a win. So let's get into it. The first book I read in 2023 was 4 Brown Girls with Sharp Edges and Tender Hearts, A Love Letter to Women of Color by Prisca Dorcas Mojica Rodriguez. Now, if you haven't read this book, I think it's a great overview in one book of certain topics that brown women deal with all the time, you know, such as politics of respectability, toxic masculinity, intersectionality, myth of wow, I don't know English. Myth of this is why I gotta read. Like, yo, no, for real though, I really have trouble pronouncing words and I have no idea why. Anyhow, so yes, in this book, it carries a great overview of all these topics that affect women of color. I think it's a beautiful book. At first, when I was reading it, I felt like, okay, I feel like I kind of know all of this stuff, but it was a great reminder of some of the stuff that we're still dealing with after years, you know. For people that want to become writers and write their own story, I feel like this is a great book to kind of like help you start processing some of the things that you've experienced in regards to these topics and create stories from that. Because we need to hear your story, girl. We need it. Okay, so for the second book I read this year, I don't have it with me physically. This is not the book that I read. This is actually one of the books I want to read, but more on that later. The book that I read was A Place to Stand by Jimmy Bacus Santiago. Hopefully I figure out how to insert the image of that book in this video. If I don't, I'll link it down below, of course. Such an amazing story. It's basically a memoir of Jimmy Bacus Santiago. And if you're Mexican American, you know Blood In, Blood Out, and if you don't, it's on YouTube for free. Watch the movie. But Blood In, Blood Out is a Mexican-American cult classic, and basically the screenwriter of that movie is Jimmy Bacus Santiago. And the movie basically has a lot of parts of his life, like what his life was being like in jail, and just the life of a Mexican-American Chicano during his time. So one of the things that I really loved about A Place to Stand, which is crazy, that book is basically, it won a prize And Mans didn't even know how to read or write. Like, he was literally illiterate. That's crazy. So while in jail, he actually discovered reading, and it opened up his whole world. Like, it's just amazing what reading can do for you, how writing can, can do for you. And he had to teach himself how to read and write in jail, and he became one of America's well-known poets. So in case you didn't know, he writes poetry as well. I haven't picked up any of his poetry. Okay, now I'm just rambling. I'm rambling. As for the last book that I read in 2023, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. This book was actually recommended to me by my boyfriend. He really enjoyed this book, particularly because of the theme of toxic masculinity as well as the father and son relationship. So I really wanted to read that book to just really understand what was going through my boyfriend's mind when he was reading those subjects and how it related to him. I also did enjoy reading this book because I got to learn a little bit about a culture that's not my own, such as the Nigerian culture, how their villages were. Because in the end of this book, I mean, not to like kind of ruin it, but in the last part, it ties it all into like how colonization starts to change their village. So if you're looking for a book to understand colonization, particularly in like African countries such as Nigeria, this is a great read. But it also includes great themes of mother and son relationship, father and son, toxic masculinity, like I mentioned. Such an easy read, but very, very rich in culture and what happens, colonization. So anyway, those are the 3 books that I read in 2023. I'm very happy to say that none of these books were self-help or spirituality, because that's basically how I got started really into reading. I started with a spiritual book, and I've been reading self-help books, but I want to read more stories. I feel like sometimes the lessons that we're looking for aren't in self-help books. They're in stories and other people's stories, whether that's nonfiction, fiction. And I just want to read all types of genres. So yeah. Anyway, because I could be rambling, girl. I ramble. So anyway, thank you for watching Todo con Tiempo's first official video. I'm so excited for the videos to come, and I'll see you guys in the next video.